I felt like I had made it. I'd started up some companies on the side, and I just killing it, right? You're just on top of the world. And out of nowhere, one day, my leg stopped working, just stopped. I went into the bathtub because I was really hurting. I had a lot of pain, and we thought I was sick. We didn't really know what was going on. That day, I'd been out planting trees, just normal life, out in the backyard doing stuff, right? I'd just gotten back from traveling for the company that I worked for, and I got in the bathtub to try to make my legs feel better, and I went to get out, and my legs didn't work. My wife had to come get me out of the tub, went to the hospital, and nobody could figure out what was going on. They didn't know what was wrong. And I sat in a little room, and the paralysis kept going up. It kept getting worse. Finally, they thought they'd figured out what it was. They transferred me to a bigger hospital because at the time, I think they knew they didn't really fully let us in on what was happening. But the paralysis took over my body. And that meant that I stopped being able to breathe and do anything. So I was put and hooked to life support, and I was on that life support in the ER for weeks, and there was no exit date. So there was no time in which I would get better, so they sent me out of the hospital system, and they sent me to somewhere that's called an LTAC, a long-term care facility. And that's for people that have to be on medical equipment, but there's no checkout date. And so that's where I went to stay and to be. And in there,
but you were aware, right? I mean,
fully aware. I couldn't speak. I communicated through blinking, and I had plastic sheets that I would look at pictures to try to communicate with people on what was going on. I was in incredible amounts of pain, 24/7. My entire nervous system had been destroyed, and my nerves were telling my body we've basically been blown up. So I was on fentanyl, methadone, oxy, morphine, and they couldn't stop the pain.
Wow.
So I was on so much pain drugs. My wife was like, you have to give him more to stop. He's in so much pain. They're like, we'll kill him. He'll die. We can't. There's nothing we can do. And so the first, I don't even remember how long it was, probably a month. The only time I slept is when I passed out from the pain. Mm-hmm. So it would just be too much. I'd pass out, and that's how I'd rest. But I didn't sleep. And in the LTAC, they, over time, as time went on, we finally got to a point where there's a metric by the pressure in which your lungs can move to breathe to sustain your body. And negative is actually good. So let's say you, me today, right? Negative like 35 is great. 0 is dead. I was at -1 for months. And they finally got an inclination that it like went up to like -2. And they were like, oh man, things are going good. We're on the right path now. Maybe we'll get him off the ventilator. And that went on slowly. So it like clicked up, but then went away. And then I was back down to 0. And I just stayed on life support, and they took care of me every day. They would roll me over to bathe me. They'd wash me with rags and scrub me down and then roll me back over. I couldn't move anything. I was paralyzed from the eyes down. I could see towards the end of my bed, and I could move my head from side to side. I could not talk. I could not eat, nothing. And I was actually fired from my job when I was in the hospital.
Oh, jeez.
And
there goes the golden handcuffs.
Yep, there went the golden handcuffs. And so, in fact, because where they fired me, everything, I didn't have to get paid my bonuses, all that good stuff too. So I was let go, which, we hear that and it's like horrifying. It's like, what could they do if things are good? Now, to put it into perspective here, they were paying me though already for like 2 months. And obviously, there was no we didn't even know if I was going to leave the hospital.
Yep.
There was no, you're going to go back to work. So I don't mean to just, bash on them or anything else like that, but it's shocking, right? My income is gone. My wife, we had just had our 4th child, Theo, who's now 6. He was an infant, 4 months. And She now has 4 kids, an infant, and a husband that's quadriplegic in the bed, on life support, not even at home or anything. And I lost my job. So as time went on, my body, there was nothing they could do for me. There was no medicine that would make it better, nothing.
Did they find out what it was? I'm like,
Yes.
okay.
It's called Guillain-Barré. And Guillain-Barré is where your white blood cells, something triggers it, and your white blood cells turn, for some reason, they don't know why, but your white blood cells think that your central nervous system is the thing that they're attacking. So they get confused. So something comes in, they say, we've got to attack this bad thing. Then it, for some reason, thinks that the nervous system is that. It goes, it's everywhere. So it starts producing white blood cells at like 100 times. And then your white blood cells eat your central nervous system, and it destroys what are called the myelin sheaths. Those are sheaths that go around just like a telephone wire. So telephone wires have plastic sheaths. If they don't, signals will not go through. They destroyed all my myelin sheaths, and they stopped any signals from going to my brain, to the rest of my body. There's nothing they can do to heal it. There's nothing they can do to make it better. It's, we will keep you alive, and we hope that your body will come back. And so that's what they did. They just kept me on tubes and hoped that it would get better. And then I started to be able to breathe after months. And so, funny story. I was in the hospital, and they were like, we get to lower your cuff. It's something called a cuff that's in the tube that goes into my throat. And that allows the air to go through the tube, which keeps my lungs moving. And if they change the cuff, it stops the air from going down in and will allow it to go up into my mouth, which would allow me to talk. So they said, AJ, it's now been months. You have enough strength that we think we can give you a few seconds to say something. So my wife, my baby was there, and my family, and it was like, you're going to talk for the first time after this horrible being put into a coma and just disappearing, right? And so I knew, I was like, okay, it was emotional for them and everything. And so they got ready, and they told me right out of the gate, they were like, AJ, you're going to sound weird. So your vocal cords haven't been active. Yeah. You're not going to sound normal. So I thought, okay, thought about it. And they came and they flipped my cuff, and I looked up at my infant son, who was, we called him my therapy baby, because my kids, we didn't bring them in for a long time because we didn't even know if I was going to live. Yeah. So we didn't know what to say, and the kids were young. We weren't sure how to handle it. So he would lie on my pillow next to me, and he was the only interaction I had with my children. And I would move my lips, and he would play with his hands on my lips, and that was everything to me. Everything. When he came in, that's all I cared about. I just wanted him to be there so I could see my baby. So I looked straight at him right out of the gate, and I looked at him and I said, Theo, I am your father, because I thought I would sound like Darth Vader. Yeah. So I thought it would be funny. And then I looked and I smiled and looked over at my wife, and I said, just kidding, we don't know who the dad is. And then they turned the cuff and shut it off. So I thought it was funny. I don't think my wife and everybody thought it was as that funny. No, thank you. I love you so much. Thank you for keeping me alive. No, it was. I love it. It was I'm your father, and no, just kidding. We don't know who the dad is. So that was the first time that I said anything after these months of my wife going through hell.
So you kept your sense of humor through this. But
yes.